Welcome back to the FMall Pod. I am your host, Anwar Green. If you can see, that is my co-host, Kilogram. He'll be hanging out with me because, well, he lives here, and that's kind of what it is. Anyhow, FMall, for those of you who are here for the first time, FMall is an acronym. It means 15 minutes or less. I'll tell you a little bit about what's happening in DC, a little bit about what's happening here in Nevada where I live, talk a little bit about just what's going on in the world, and hopefully everyone's a little bit smarter in 15 minutes or less. So, that stated, let's get to it, shall we? First thing I want to talk about, y'all. Can we talk about Karmelo Anthony for a minute? And I'm not talking about the retired NBA player. I'm talking about the high school student. So, I did a little research. I did some reading, I listened, watched a few videos, tried to get some information. From what I've heard, it sounds like this was a kid who was assaulted and defended himself. That's what it looks like to me. And you have all these people who are up in arms, and I really don't understand why. Because you know who else claimed they were assaulted and defended themselves, and everybody was okay with it? George Zimmerman. Since he got acquitted, that dude can't stay out of trouble. But he was allowed to adopt that defense. You know who else you allowed to adopt that defense? Kyle Rittenhouse. You allowed him to adopt that defense, and then you used it to argue for justifying or argue toward justification. I don't know. You know what I mean. But you tried to argue in defense of him taking firearms across state lines to shoot protesters, even though he was a minor. But he was defending himself. Suddenly, with Karmelo Anthony, it's a different story. Why? Why? And then some of you fucking idiots, are up in arms. Well, how come he had a knife in the first place? Suddenly you're concerned about safety. And I would believe you if you weren't the same people who argued, like I said a second ago, defending Kyle Rittenhouse, a minor, taking a firearm across state lines to shoot protesters. I believe you if you were working harder to keep guns out of schools. You want to keep little boys out of little girls' bathrooms, but you don't want to keep shooters out of little kids' classrooms. And if you ask me, that's some crazy fucking work. And then on top of that, some of you fucking morons, that's right, I said it. Some of you are arguing in your state legislatures right now for your right to carry your gun in the voting booth. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, do you really not see your own hypocrisy? Are you really this slow? Or are you finally ready to admit you're just a bigot and shut the fuck up? I mean, you could just do that. In fact, you don't even have to admit you're a bigot. You could just shut the fuck up. Think about it. Maybe. But I digress. Because then you have the shit claps that are suddenly outraged. Actually, these are some of the same shit claps. What's a shit clap? You ever hear somebody talk and you just think, wow, I'd rather shit in my hands and clap than listen to this. Congratulations, you've met a shit clap. That stated, I digress. Some of these people are outraged that their money is being raised for Karmelo Anthony's defense. My question is this. Why were you silent when 400 grand was raised for Darren Wilson after he shot Michael Brown? You ain't have shit to say then. Why were you quiet when $500,000 was raised for George Zimmerman's defense after he murdered Trayvon Martin? Crickets. When Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd, they raised $2 million for his defense. You only have shit to say then. So, why that energy now? Maybe you should just go back to shutting the fuck up. Maybe that's what you should do. Because your hypocrisy is showing. And your bigotry is showing. I'm not racist, but... And then you say and do racist shit. Fuck you. There. I said it. Moving on, shall we? That's a little heavy to start with. Let's move on to something a little lighter, hopefully. Y'all, those of you who know me know that I am a budding WNBA fan. I can't say I'm a huge WNBA fan yet because I still have a whole lot to learn. I am what you call a man who should probably shut the fuck up about women's sports. Truth is, I think most men should because women know women's sports a whole lot better than we do. And every time we try to challenge them on the shit, we get shown up. So that stated, as much as I love women's sports, I should probably be quiet too. That stated, my home team or my favorite team is actually the home team, and that's the Las Vegas Aces. I live in Vegas. That's my team. I was in the building when Asia Wilson became the first and only WNBA player to score 1,000 points in a single season, and she will forever be the only player to have done it in a 40-game season because starting in 2025, the season is now 44 games long. So being a special part of that was, I ain't gonna lie, it was pretty cool. Y'all, I was in there screaming. I sounded like a drifting race car. I ain't even gonna front. But the experience was well worth it. That stated, last year she set the record for most points in a single season. The year before that, the record was set by Jewel Lloyd in Seattle. Jewel Lloyd is now a member of the Las Vegas Aces. So we have the two record setters for most points in a single season playing on the same team. And we already know they can play well together because we watched them do it in the Olympics. So I am very excited about that. One thing I will say that irks me about the WNBA personally, as much as I'm looking forward to seeing, why the fuck do you have the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky playing each other during rivalry week? I know the answer to the question, but really, dude? Like, why are they still trying to create this rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese? They don't even play the same position. Like, it's ridiculous to me. Now, a great rivalry game, one I'm very much looking forward to seeing, is the Aces versus the New York Liberty. That's a rivalry. That's a fun game to watch. But Indiana versus Chicago, it's not a rivalry. It's just not. They're trying to trump up this so-called beef that does not exist. Because the reality is Caitlin Clark is a great basketball player. Angel Reese is also a great basketball player. I love the ladies of the WNBA, but the leadership, they're kind of shit. I mean, capitalizing off of what you know is racism and bigotry, again, that's some crazy ass work, people. It really is. But what do I know? Now, I will say this, speaking of Caitlin Clark. If you think she is not a reason for the increase in popularity in the WNBA, you're not watching women's basketball. If you think she is the only reason for the WNBA's increase in popularity, you are not watching women's basketball. That's just the reality. And truth is, as good as she is, her story would not be as good without the villainizing of Angel Reese. That's the honest to goodness truth. Speaking of Angel Reese, if you took away every rebound she got from her own miss, she'd still have led the league in offensive rebounds. And she would have been second only to Asia Wilson in defensive rebounds. Maybe y'all need to leave that woman alone and let her play the fucking game. Because she's a lot of fun to watch. Caitlin Clark is a lot of fun to watch too. And oh my goodness, can you imagine when they are playing in the Olympics together in a couple years? I am very excited about that because the truth is it's possible to acknowledge both of them are great. But before I go too far and get too wrapped up, this is not the Men Who Should Shut the Fuck Up About Women's Sports podcast. So back to my point. Let's talk about DC. before I say that, aces in five. You heard it here first. But in DC, we've watched the tariff war that wasn't a war, and then it was, and then it wasn't, and then it is again. And what we're finding out, or what we're being reminded of once again, is Donald Trump is not a master of making deals. Donald Trump is addicted to playing chicken, and he loses every goddamn time. Like, the dude is trying to get us all killed in some way, shape, or form. I don't know what the fuck is up with the guy. That's y'all's motherfucking punk ass friend. And then you got the SAVE Act, which saves absolutely nothing, benefits absolutely no one. All it does is make it more difficult for millions of legal, registered American voting citizens to vote. That's all it does. It's asinine. Shit is starting to get real, y'all. Meanwhile, here in Nevada, we got Jackass Joe, my bad, Governor Joe Lombardo, and last episode I talked about a little bit about his housing plan. So he introduced Assembly Bill 540, and it's also known as the Nevada Housing Access and Attainability Act. Now, you remember, like I said last time I mentioned his plan, he wanted to use $250 million in federal funds to build housing. And it's supposed to help 16,000 Nevadans. Sounds good on its face until we look at the 47,000 Nevadans in the streets this past year alone. What are we doing with that housing? Why aren't we putting people in that housing? Starting with the 47,000 we put in the street in the first fucking place. What about that? Do nothing with the housing we have, but let's build some more housing that's going to be anything but affordable when it's all said and done. But at the same time, why does this feel like par for the course? Again, like I said last episode, this is a guy who was the sheriff and thought that he needed a promotion because crime was bad. You're the top cop, and you can't stop crime, so you need to be promoted. Shit, I'm going to start fucking up at work and see if my boss will promote me. I'm trying to see what that's like. But again, that's Jackass Joe for you. That's y'all's motherfucking punk ass friend. But that stated, the calls to action are the same as the last episode. If you are living in northern Nevada, especially this coming week because Congress is on recess. Congress is on recess. So, you should be calling your Congress people. You should be calling your senators. Asking them what the fuck is going on with the SAVE Act. Asking them what the fuck is going on with this budget resolution and these tax cuts for the rich. Asking them what the fuck is happening to my Medicaid. What's going to happen to veterans benefits? What's going to happen to SNAP benefits and people's food? Are we going to let people starve so billionaires can get a little more money? So the calls to action are exactly the same. Additionally, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, follow my friends at Nevada Megaphone. Nevada, Nevada, just like the state, Megaphone. Follow them, and the reason I'm sending you to follow them is because they're constantly putting out updated information, and they're constantly putting out stuff so you can stay informed. Listen, an informed electorate is an empowered one. You make good decisions when you have the right information. So, follow my friends at Nevada Megaphone. Until then, I'll see y'all next time. Thanks again for tuning in.